All right. So in this next video, it is a video about a lawyer who got scammed out of money because he had believed that his son was in danger. Now, I have talked in the past about the power of AI and how I'm worried, like many people are, about the potential bad use cases, but I am very hopeful and very interested to see how it's going to be used in good situations. For example, budgeting. I've had a long track record of having a income that's kind of all over the places because in the past years and years and years and years when I was in high school and in middle school, working those part-time jobs where it's not 40 hours a week and you're getting the same paycheck every single week. And now what happens is when you're not getting a same paycheck every other week, it is very hard to budget. And it's very hard to kind of know where your income is going to be on a weekly basis. Even 20, 30, $40 variance between paychecks every other week over the course of a month when you're trying to plan out your big expenses, it really adds up. And it makes it more difficult to say, can I get an extra $40, $50 of gas today? Now, like I'm saying, I was not making any money. I'm not saying I'm rich right now by any stretch of the means, but this is when 20, 30, $40 could mean do I fill my tank up halfway or do I fill my tank up completely? Um, Especially out here in Pennsylvania, because gas got over $4 here. So gas was the major expense when it really got super expensive about a year and a half ago out here. But one of the things that I've been using ChatGPT for is to help me kind of plan how to basically budget. I also use an app on my phone. I think it's Rocket Money, I think. I think is the app that I use, and it's tied into my bank account. It shows me everything that I've spent, shows me everything that I've made in terms of income. Although sometimes it does misrepresent what is coming in as income. So there is that issue sometimes that arises, but it's not a huge thing. I could just recategorize it as no, this is income, this is not income. So I can fix it, but automatically it's not always 100% accurate. So I kind of know looking at my bank account what my expenses are going to be on a month to month basis because I have bills. I got rent, I got a car payment, I got this, that stuff, I got student loans coming up, and I also have a credit card that I want to make payments towards. So I have stuff where I kind of have an idea of what I actually want to spend. Now, what you can do, and this is, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly financial advice, but I just think this is smart, and I think it's important to share this is um I use a pen and paper. I kind of write down, okay, here's because now I'm in a much more stable income where I know every week or every other week what my paycheck is going to be. So now I'm much more easily able to budget that income. Same with my wife. So write down, okay, I know I'm going to make this much this month, and I know I'm going to have to pay my blah, 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 my blah, 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 my blah, 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 my blah, blah, blah. And I know that amount of number. Now, okay, what's left over and what can because right now I'm trying to pay off a credit card, um, for example, and I can ask ChatGPT, I can say, hey, here's my income, here's my expenses. I want to pay off my credit card within a couple of months. Um, what's a good strategy on doing that while still having some money left over? And then there's a new feature with ChatGPT that they recently introduced where you can have voice chat. So instead of typing in a prompt, you can just click a button and it opens up a speech bubble and you say your thing, it responds, and then you say your thing again if you want to clarify or anything. And then once you're done with it, you can close that out. And then all of that stuff is archived in that chat for you. So even if it says something and you're 5, 6 prompts down the line, you can still go back and look at, oh, okay, so it said this, this, or this, because sometimes you want to clarify, be like, I'm expecting to have student loans. Oh, wait, I'm actually expecting not to have student. Like if you want to change something in the future, you can update it, and then it'll give you a breakdown of what your financial steps should do. So that's a very good tool for it. So that's one of the good things about AI. Now, what's one of the bad things? We talked about how it lies, but let's talk about how it scams.
Them of a scam using my son's voice. And here's the story. I was on my way to work. My phone rang. It was my son. He was crying. He said, "Dad, I was in an accident. I hit another car being driven by a pregnant woman. My nose is broken. They arrested me. I'm in jail. They assigned a public defender to me. His name is Barry Goldstein. You need to call him. You have to get me out of here. Help me." I said, "Brett, I'll call him and I'll call you right back." He said, "You can't. They took my phone. Help me, Dad. I'm a father. I'm a lawyer. My son's in trouble. A pregnant woman was hurt. He's in jail. I'm in action mode." Before I could do anything, my phone rings again. It's Barry Goldstein. "I just met with your son. He's hurt. He has a broken nose, but he'll be okay. He hit a car being driven by a pregnant woman. She was taken to the hospital. They arrested your son because he failed the breathalyzer test at the accident scene." I said, "Wait, my son would never drink and drive." He said, "Brett told him that, but he had an energy drink that morning, and that may have caused the failed test." He said, "I should take some steps if I wanted to bail my son out." I said, "Of course I want to do that." He said, "Well, I'll give you the phone number for the courthouse, and here's your son's case number. You should call the courthouse and bail him out." I immediately called the courthouse. They answered correctly. I tell them why I'm calling. They said, "What's your son's name?" They asked for the case number. They said, "Yes, your son's here. Bail was set at $90,000. You need to post 10%, $9,000 to bail him out, but there's a problem." So what's the problem? The county bail bondsman was away on a family emergency, and he's not available. He said, "But there is a solution. You can post what they called an attorney's bond." I said, "I'm an attorney." He said, "Yes, but you'd haven't entered your appearance on behalf of your son. There's a Mr. Goldstein that did that. You should perhaps call him back and try to get him to post an attorney's bond." Hang up. I call Mr. Goldstein back. "Mr. Goldstein, can you post a bond for my son?" "Yes." "You need to wire me $9,000. He said, "I'm a member of a credit union, so you need to take the cash to a certain kiosk, which will get the money to me. And I'm scheduled to leave for a conference in California. I'll be leaving to the airport in 2 hours, so you need to move quickly." I learned later that that kiosk was a Bitcoin kiosk that would convert the money to cryptocurrency. I hang up. All of these calls happened in 2 minutes. This is the first time I had a chance to think. I called my daughter-in-law and suggested that she call work and tell them that my son wasn't going to make it today because he was in an accident. A few minutes later, FaceTime call from my son. He's pointing to his nose. He goes, "My nose is fine. I'm fine. You're being scammed." I sat there in my car. I was physically affected by that. It was shock and anger and relief. I decided that I would try to keep Mr. Goldstein engaged in the scam while I invited law enforcement to become involved. I contacted the Philadelphia police, and they said because I had not lost the money, they couldn't help me. I called the local FBI office. They said, "Look, there was burner phones and cryptocurrency. They were aware of the scam, and that they were unable to bring back cryptocurrency once it was out of the country or wherever it went. And so they were unwilling to get involved." And that left me fairly frustrated because I had been involved in consumer fraud cases in my career, and I almost fell for this. So the only thing I thought I could then do was to warn people. So I approached the Philadelphia Inquirer, and they did a feature story. And Fox News ran a segment on their morning show. The scam hasn't abated. Since that article came out, I've received 20 to 25 calls throughout the country of people who have been contacted by Barry Goldstein and who had lost money. And they were devastated. I mean, they're emotionally and physically hurt. They almost were calling to get a phone call hug because they were so upset. They asked me, what could I recommend? And I said, look, the do what I did, go public. Oh, and the other suggestion I had was to go to the bank where they bank and suggest that tellers inquire about anyone that's taking out a lot of cash that doesn't usually do that. That was the only thing I could come up with. The cryptocurrency and AI have provided a riskless avenue for fraudsters to take advantage of all of us. They have no risk of exposure. I know that there's economic benefit to cryptocurrency, but I also know that it causes substantial harm to society and financial harm. To me, it's fundamental if we're harmed by somebody, there's a remedy either through the legal system or through law enforcement. In this case, there is no remedy. And that fundamental basis is broken. And I hope that this committee could do something about that. Thank you.
So a couple things. Fascinating story, right? A lawyer, an attorney, somebody who knows the law, who's dealt with fraud cases before, he gets a call about his son in danger. He's hurt. Somebody else is hurt. He could have potentially killed somebody. He could be going to jail. In this panic, he almost is on the verge of sending $9,000 to bail his son out. Like you mentioned, this is all in the span of maybe at most 15 minutes, is how he describes the story. These calls are happening right after another. So these people are moving fast. Now, I don't know if it's multiple people or if it's just one guy and he has artificially generated voices or phone calls or anything like that. I'm not certain. He didn't allude to it, but his point is ultimately something that I don't entirely agree with, but I can see in this case that one, AI is being used in a very nefarious thing. Now, he doesn't exactly say how artificial intelligence is really impacting this situation. I'm assuming he's speaking about the voices and the people who had called him and that stuff, that was somehow artificial intelligence. But his bigger and broader point, I would say, is the lack of regulation on cryptocurrency, and as a result, the amount of fraud that can come about from cryptocurrency. Now, some people will say, you know what, this is a good example. We need to have the government have some authority and some control over these cryptocurrencies, because if the government doesn't have any control over it, it's just a free, fair, and just all out shit show, right? Now, in this particular case, that is true. That's 100% true. It was cryptocurrency and not US dollars that basically the trade was going to go through. They weren't going to do this cash to cash. No, because that could be traced. They wanted it to be converted to Bitcoin so that it couldn't be traced. It would just go into this person's wallet and then they could take that money out and the government has no idea about it, about where from the Bitcoin taking it out from Bitcoin and then into your bank account, the government is unable to track that. Now, for some people, that's great. They don't want the government to know about the trades that they're doing, because ultimately, if you make, say, 50% returns on a cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin transaction, where you put in, say, $100, and then a week later you have $200, and then you take that money out of the account and put it into your bank account, you made double your money. And now, if that was the stock market or something like that, you would have to pay taxes on that if the number is large enough, or if the gains are large enough. So what some people have been doing, particularly with crypto, is try and get around having to pay those taxes, because uh, nobody really wants to pay taxes, especially on money that they invested into uh, a certain NFT, a Bitcoin, or whatever it is, a cryptocurrency. So there is kind of two sides. This could easily be used for fraud. However, you got to make a much, much more convincing argument for me to get to the point of saying, I need the government to be able to come in and particularly have some control over this cryptocurrency thing. Now, he mentioned a couple of things in there. He mentioned that he asked the teller at the particular location if they could see whether somebody had come in and gotten large amounts of cash that they deposited out, or anything that they withdrew that was in large numbers. And he never quite finished that thought, if they said that yes, they have, or no, they haven't. So maybe that's still in investigation. Um, the the Philadelphia police certainly didn't help him out, which sucks. The FBI seems like they're already aware of this kind of thing is going on, but does that necessarily mean that the government should start implementing laws and potentially take some actions to gain control over the cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin? Should they come up with a digital coin of their own that can only be used in the United States? And I mean, this could, if you'll let me just finish the thought out real quick, say the United States government, there's too much fraud that is going on with Bitcoin. Nobody can, um, nobody can exactly see what these people are doing with this money, what they're spending the money on. Are they spending this money on illegal drugs? Are they spending this money on guns? We don't know. We can't track it. So therefore, there is a high likelihood of people committing crimes using this money, simply for the reason that it can't be tracked. And you can't tell what these people are spending their Bitcoin on. And the other thing is, there is no trace of this money. You get money, you put it into a Bitcoin account. The government is unaware that you're putting money into this account, and they're also unaware that you're taking money out of the account, if that's what is indeed happening, to the best of my knowledge. Now, you have a particular issue with trying to have the government come up with their solution. And what their solution is, if you'll let me kind of think this out, the government solution could be to create a digital dollar. And there's been not a lot of like serious talk, I would say. But there has been some rumblings of the government coming up with their own version of a cryptocurrency. And then what, if that ultimately is created, what could happen is the government now says, if you are a resident of the United States, if you're a US citizen, you are required, if you are going to do any cryptocurrency exchanges, you are required to use only the United States crypto dollar, or you're only able to trade in the United States crypto dollar. So you can have Bitcoin, but in order to transfer it to actual dollars, say you already have $500 in Bitcoin, but now you want to take that money out of Bitcoin and turn it into cash. In order to do that, you would have to first send that money over to another, the US crypto dollar or whatever it will be. And then from there, send that money to your bank account. And now what could happen is the government can now track where that money came from. They can also track where that money is going to go, which for the government would help them a lot in terms of these scams and this kind of thing, because they can track where the money's going. And if they make it so that you have no choice that you have to do this, that would make it a lot easier for them to track ultimately these people that are committing scams. And also, if you're the government, you can also put a nice little, let me get a little bit of tax on every single transaction. You got your Bitcoin. All right, bring it over, bring it over. Crypto dollar. Yep. US dollar. The US crypto dollar, whatever it is. Okay, we'll do that little transfer. Boom. All right, now we'll send this money straight to your account. You're good. It's 100% verified. There's no scams. There's no anything. And if you are eventually scammed, we can trace it back. So you're protected. Also, for your protection, can I please have 5% of that transaction just to keep you safe? If this wasn't existing, then you would be getting scammed. You wouldn't be able to get your money back, which sucks, doesn't it? But I know you wish you could do this and not get any tax on your money, but unfortunately, that's what you have to do. So this could get out of hand. This could potentially turn into something where the government is ultimately taking advantage of people's crypto wallets, if you'll let me say. And then as a result, they might just ultimately create a digital dollar. And there are some concerns that I have about that. Now, this one is not entirely about artificial intelligence, but he does mention artificial intelligence. But the majority of kind of my thoughts on this are mostly about the crypto and all that stuff. I have $0. I've never invested any money into Bitcoin, into any of the crypto stuff. And I wish I did, because in 2012 or 13, in those 2 years was probably the first time I ever heard about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first one I ever heard about. And I thought that was just crypto, was just Bitcoin. And I thought that way pretty much up until I got through high school and into college. I kind of knew what Bitcoin was, not exactly, okay, it's this thing that you can put money in and it's just this coin, but you can't really do anything with it, is kind of my understanding up until I got to college. And then what happened was, in that 2012, 2013 year, when I first learned about it, I knew some people who had put some money in. Like, we're talking like a couple of bucks. We're not talking hundreds or thousands of dollars. But looking back at that time, I really wish I had invested that money, which also makes me think about when I was in seventh grade, maybe eighth grade. So this is maybe 2010, 2011, 2010, 2011, around that time. There was a acquaintance of mine who I was hanging out with at school. And for his birthday one year, he was gifted, I don't know if I believe it was gifted to him, but he also could have bought in these on his own. But he had stock of Apple. This is at the latest 2011, at the very latest 2011. and he showed me on his iPhone the stocks app, and he was like, look how much Apple stock I have. And that was the only thing that he had. And I was like, okay, what does that do? He's like, well, if Apple starts to make a little bit more money and they start doing better as a company, then I'll get money. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And I was just didn't think anything of it. I don't know if he had $1, $10, $1 million invested into that. But since that time, we're talking a decade plus, Apple has gotten pretty valuable. So I hope that he has waited until this very second to sell it, because he probably could have made a good chunk of money. But that's kind of my take on this particular situation. I think we have to spread awareness about this kind of stuff, right? Now, I don't know if this is AI or if this is more crypto. I think this is more of a crypto thing, and people are getting scammed because of crypto and they're not able to track it, right? I don't think this is exactly a story of AI is evil, evil. I don't think it's that. I think it's more so that, hey, government, these crypto folks getting out of hand. We got to rein it in. And I have some pause with that. But I guess we will see. Now, if in the future, in like 2 weeks from now, there's uh the government actually comes out and has their own crypto dollar, then I'll be very, very interested to see what exactly their marketing for that will be. But we'll see.